Now let's look at one of Laura's case examples. She'll walk us through the story of Seth and how she used functional analysis as well as imagery of the compassionate other to help Seth change his relationship with criticism. Using these two methods from compassion-focused therapy allowed Seth to move from shame-based self-criticism to compassionate self-correction. Seth was a young actor and dancer in his late 20s who had high levels of shame-based self-criticism. Laura did an inventory of the types of things that Seth would say to himself when he was disappointed in his performance. He often called himself names and told himself that he was never good enough. His usual style was to not just focus on this one mistake, but to lump in every mistake that he'd ever made.
And we looked at how his criticism left him feeling and thinking about himself. And often he found himself plunged into experiences of depression, sadness, and anxiety, leading him to often avoiding activities of his daily life, staying home for days on end, not going out or interacting with other people. I asked Seth a question that we ask many of our clients in compassion-focused therapy. I asked him, if I were to take away his inner critic, if I somehow had the magical power that could remove his ability to criticize himself, that when he left my office, he would never criticize himself again, what would be his greatest fear? And Seth said to me that he would be afraid that he would be not good enough, that he would constantly be making mistakes, that he would go off the rails with his behavior, that he would do things that weren't in line with his values, and that he certainly would never improve, become a better actor, a better dancer.
So the first thing Laura did was to use functional analysis to help Seth get in touch with what his inner critic was trying to do for him. She followed that by helping him cultivate a compassionate other.
And so we started to do some of our compassion-focused imagery. We started to cultivate his ideal compassionate self. But what was really helpful for Seth was cultivating his ideal compassionate other. A coach, a mentor that was there to root him on when he was doing well, that took joy in his successes, but also noticed when he was failing, noticed when he was having difficulty, or noticed when he was struggling, and was able to provide correction, to help return to his attention and do things a little bit different. So again, it was about allowing himself to respond more effectively. We started looking at examples of those teachers or coaches that got the best performance out of their students or players. Those individuals, perhaps over the course of Seth's life, that he felt inspired him, that motivated him to do more, but didn't paralyze him with fear and anxiety, like his critic had been doing. So we began cultivating these examples. He read some biographies on different coaches, watched a bunch of teaching movies, and together we worked so he could construct his ideal compassionate other, his compassionate coach that could come with him on his auditions when he was trying out for shows or for gigs. He could have this compassionate other with him as he engaged in the different areas of his life that were meaningful to him, that allowed him to live a bigger, fuller, more vital life and didn't leave him home, alone, isolated.
So compassion-focused therapy teaches clients to use compassionate self-correction rather than shame-based self-attack.